Brings. Okay, welcome to our January 5th council meeting. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Matt, will you start us off with a roll call, please?
Councilor Savage.
Here.
Robinson.
Here.
Demas.
Here.
Zadi.
Here.
Halter.
Here.
Batolo.
Here.
West.
Here.
Hickerson.
Here.
Mayor Como.
Here. Councilors, first off, I just want to congratulate the new councilors on our council. Welcome them aboard. There's much work to do as you begin your job on the city council. 2020 has brought many issues to the forefront of our lives, and the issues continue to come forward, which will require us to make sense of it all and hopefully make informed decisions in the best interests of the city of Rock Springs as we move forward into this new year. Finding ways to deal with the ongoing pandemic-related issues will continue to bring new problems and challenges our way, and we'll need to focus and work together as a team to resolve these issues and make good decisions. We're tasked with making sense of state orders on a local level in a common sense way. Our goal will always be to keep our citizens safe and healthy, support our local economy, and keep our businesses open with the ultimate goal of always improving our city and providing the services our citizens expect. I wish you all well and look forward to working with each and every one of you as we move forward with a goal to improve the city of Rock Springs. I thank your families for supporting you in this endeavor. There are going to be times which are not so glamorous and where you will get little thanks and a lot of negative abuse for the decisions you may make. Keep focused always ask yourself that one question. I always do as you move forward, and that is, will Rock Springs be a better place because of my decision? If the answer to this is yes, you've done your job as a counselor. We'll never satisfy everyone, but we can satisfy the majority and continue to improve our city if we continue to work together as a team and make good decisions that answer that one question. Will Rock Springs be a better place because of what we have done? And with that being said, let's begin the work of the city of Rock Springs this new year. First order of business, councilors, is an election of our council president. I'd accept nominations for council president.
Your Honor.
Councilman Halter.
Move to nominate Rob Zadi.
We have a nomination for Councilman Zadi. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. Any other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor for Councilman Zadi as president? Say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Abstain.
This is why we didn't move your chair.
Well, thank you, Council. I appreciate the vote of confidence in serving as president again for another year.
Okay, councilor's first order of business then would be the approval of the minutes from the special city council meeting of December 10th, 2020 and December 18th, 2020. And the city council meeting minutes of December 15th, 2020. What's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman West?
I'd move to approve.
We do have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second has been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we're going to move on to the appointment section of our agenda. And Mr. President, members of the council, I submit to you the name of Cody Wiley to serve first term on the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Council, you have before you the name Cody Wiley, first term, Planning and Zoning Commission. Can I get a motion?
So moved, Mr. President.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Demas.
Yes.
Zadi.
Yes.
Halter.
Yes.
Batolo.
Yes.
West.
Yes.
Hickerson.
Yes.
Savage.
Yes.
Mayor, you have your appointment.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. Mr. President, I submit to you the name of Brianna Jackman to serve first term on the Rock Springs Historical Museum Board.
Your Honor,
Councilman Batolo.
make that motion.
We have motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Oh, I'm just taking riding herd on. Go ahead, Mr. President.
Council, you have before you the name Brianna Jackman for first term Rock Springs Historical Museum Board. We have a motion and a second, I believe. Can I get a roll call?
Counselor Demas,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Vitolo,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor, you have your appointment.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. Item number 3 is the 2021 City Council Standing Committees and Liaisons. I'm just going to go down through the list and we can vote on the committees and liaisons at the end. So on the standing committees, of course, our negotiations team would be the full council. Trash and Recycling Committee, Savage Chairman, Robinson and Demas. Visual Improvements and Arts, West Chairman, Hickerson and Batolo. Public Safety Committee, Robinson Chairman, Halter and Zadi. Water and Sewer Committee, West Chairman, Zadi and Savage. Snow Weed Nuisance Control, Zadi Chair, Hickerson and Demas. Municipal Court Committee, Robinson Chairman, Batolo and Hickerson. Cemetery, Demas Chairman, Halter and Batolo. Christmas Committee Parades will be the council president. Policy Review Committee, Halter Chairman, Batolo and Savage. City Buildings, Vacant Buildings, Zadi Chairman, West and Demas. Legislative Lobbying Committee would be the full council and the department heads. And the new committee, as we discussed, the Joint Consolidation and Efficiency Committee, Mayor Como, Mayor Rust, and Commissioner Wendling. And this will grow and most likely start to grow after our 13th meeting upcoming. Council Liaisons, Sick Leave Committee, Demas. Parks and Rec, Hickerson. Ambulance Board, Robinson. Airport Board, West. SCDC, Mayor Como. Chamber, Hickerson. Historic Preservation Committee, Batolo. Joint Powers Fiber Optics, Halter as our Rock Springs Council rep. Insurance Committee, Savage. Companion Animal Committee, Demas. Museum Board, Batolo. URA Main Street, Zadi. Board of Health, Robinson. Specific Purpose Tax Board, West. Beautification and Tree Committee, West. Councilors, I would entertain a motion to approve these standing committee and liaison positions.
Your Honor, I'd move to approve those positions.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second has been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We will work to make sure that everyone understands critical meeting times, places, and the like for everyone as we move forward. Some of these committees meet as needed. Others have scheduled times and places. So I appreciate that. This is going to move on to the presentations and proclamations section of our agenda. And we have the Sweetwater Arts Partnership, Deborah Soule, Director of the Community Fine Arts Center. I'm going to turn this over. Hi, Deb.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to come tonight. Chad and I have been working on quite a few new things in the art world for our community. This last year, we had the opportunity to have a professional training, multi-sessions with the Wyoming Arts Alliance. This allowed us to get focused and set some goals for our community in the arts. It also allowed us to bring together multiple art groups. We always seem to be separate. Now we're together. We have been meeting each month since August, representing, downtown Rock Springs, the Broadway Theater, and the Fine Arts Center. We've been doing a lot together over the last few years, but we brought in the Sweetwater County Concert Association, the Actors Mission, the college, the school district, BOCES, and as we get established, we're hoping to expand it to the countywide so that we include Green River. But we're really learning how important it is for communication among us, because standing alone, we weren't getting as much done. Together, we're going to make a real difference. Our first goals was to form that group, and we're calling ourselves the Sweetwater Arts Partnership. It's not really a governing board at all. It's just a committee of those who really want to work together. We're developing a calendar that we'll share among the groups so that we don't overlap when we do have an opportunity in the near future, I'm hoping, for events and concerts. We're going to be really promoting and expanding the awareness of what the arts mean to us and how important it is in our community. The last 2 years, the Downtown Rock Springs office has been promoting and celebrating the arts with a week in March. With this, we've decided we're going to expand it for the whole month. It'll make it a little easier for people to attend, and then we really are bringing some focus on what the arts are in our community. We have a new event, which, Mayor, you're going to be involved with. We're just starting the promotion for this week. It's Mayor's Arts Awards. You've heard of the Governor's Arts Awards. We're going to do it locally and really highlight and hopefully honor artists in all sorts of venues, whether it's individuals or committees or organizations. So why are we doing this? Because the arts really matter. And I get very emotional about it, so I'm going to hit on this really quick. It allows us to connect with people. It allows us to see beauty in the world. But something that I think a lot of you might appreciate is the economical impact it has in our state. And we're going to get a bit of that. I know Jackson is always seen as the big one, but you know, we've got some good arts organizations and individuals, artists in this area, that I think we can really push it. In Wyoming, the creative and cultural industry, as it's called, is third after oil and gas and tourism. That's a lot of money. And these figures are a couple years old. This last year has not been the prime, as we all know, but there's over 11,000 jobs in Wyoming in the arts industries. That's 30% higher over most states in our country, and we're only second to New York. So I think if we really look at what the arts can do in our economic impact, we would put a little bit more effort into supporting them. For sales tax and revenues, it averages $17 to $23 million a year. That means sales are over $110 million. And I'm getting these figures from the Wyoming's Arts Council and WestAF, which is the Western Alliance or Arts Federation that's based out of Denver. So, as public figures in our community, we are asking you to start off our pledge to attend. You have in front of you the form Chad gave you. I think he gave you some buttons to wear too when you're out. We're asking you to attend just one event a month. That can be attending a concert. It can be going to an art exhibit. Maybe you even want to take the class and learn something, guitar or music or painting. So by making time to attend these concerts, touring an art exhibit, and maybe even a class, you're going to make art a part of your life. So I would hope that you would look at the list that's on the back. That is not complete. Things are going to be added. We're really hoping things are going to be added a lot more toward the summer. And pass the word on. Let people know that you're interested in supporting our arts programs. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions, counselors? I definitely agree. Everybody could use some beauty in their lives in this past year. We all understand that, but I would think this would be easy, and many of us up here probably do attend at least one every month if they're going on. But we'll do our best to send a message, make a commitment to do so, and spread the word. So I think it's
that
extremely
connection to the
important.
arts, being able to go, just the pure enjoyment of it should be enough incentive. Though I think we're going to have a few prizes, right, each month. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate your information and your time, Deb. Next, before we start, we're honored to have Representative Clark Stiff with us here today to give us a legislative update. Maybe Clark, I'll turn some time over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Congratulations on getting sworn in and being members of this new city council. Thank you for the service that you do. I'm here tonight just really to say hello and to make sure we have a good working relationship, because I think that we can get a lot done if we work together. And first thing I want to say is, if you see or hear me or doing things that are just not smart or that don't make any sense, please let me know. I've been honored to be appointed to the House Appropriations Committee, which is part of the Joint Appropriations Committee. I don't believe a legislator from Rock Springs has been on the Appropriations Committee since perhaps the early 1990s, when Frank Prevedel served there. However, as you know, it's a time when there's no money, so there may be a lot of bad news that we hear. The thumbnail sketch of the legislature will convene for a one-day virtual session next Tuesday, and then the schedule is not yet set for what happens next, which is very unusual. So I guess stay tuned. I don't know any more about that, about when the legislature will meet. The budget cuts implemented by the governor, 10% across the board cuts initially, and then again another 5%, so 15% cuts to the state agencies, will likely be felt here in the community, particularly the Wyoming Department of Health. I think those programs, one of my goals is to, if at all possible, to restore some of the programs that are scheduled to be cut. So, for example, the home services for the elderly. It serves nearly 2,000 people across the state. Doesn't really cost that much and helps keep people out of nursing homes. That's a program slated for elimination, and it's less than $3 million. So there's perhaps a bit of good news. I mean, the forecast is that price for natural gas should go up a bit, and the volume of coal that's expected to be sold in 2021 should go up at least above 2020 levels. So if that falls into place, one of the first things I'd like to see would be restoring some of these Department of Health programs for the elderly, for example, that are slated for cuts. So that's kind of the big picture from my point of view. K through 12 education in the very short term will not be cut really at all. I shouldn't say it quite that way. I should say that K through 12 education is right now statutorily protected, because if there's a shortfall in K through 12, and there's about a $300 million shortfall this cycle in K through 12, that will get automatically covered by the rainy day fund. Problem is, you can't do that for very many years. And so by 2024, 2025, then that rainy day fund is projected to be at zero, and then it gets pretty serious of what to do through K through 12. As far as individual bills that I intend to sponsor, it's kind of a grab bag of things. We have a lot of sales tax exemptions. That is, there are a lot of actors, for whatever reason, who don't pay sales tax on certain things, right? One of them that I think is not good for the state as a whole is the so-called data center exception. So it's not a huge amount of money. It's about $17 million a year across the state, but I'm bringing an individual bill because no one else is doing it, apparently, just to repeal that tax loophole, because it does not make sense to me, for example, that people in the oil field go to work, or people go to work in the insurance business, or as a cashier at a store, and you have to pay taxes on all of those things, but we have a high-tech Fortune 100 company that's paying zero tax at all. So I don't think it makes sense for us to be subsidizing, Fortune 100 companies in Washington State. So that's one thing. There'll be a couple of committee bills that I was involved in. One of them relates to public contracting. I don't think that'll be too controversial, but it'll just sort of set some rules of the road, frankly, to make it easier for Wyoming bidders to be successful, to make sure that Wyoming bidders on public contracts both have a level playing field, that they play fair, and that there aren't that the pre-qualification requirements are not more onerous than they should be. So there's a couple of things. I'll have a couple of bills that will create new crimes, but the goal there is not to put more people in jail. But we do have some strange loopholes. And this is a little difficult to talk about. We shouldn't need a law to outlaw bestiality, okay? But we don't have a law to outlaw bestiality, and so I'm going to bring an individual bill that would do that. Same thing for revenge porn. Right now, revenge porn is not against the law in Wyoming, rather strangely. So that's sort of a grab bag of individual bills I'll be sponsoring. I don't really have an idea of the likelihood of those passing right now, but I would appreciate your input on both those sort of individual discrete issues as well as the sort of the bigger picture money issues. And so from my point of view, I really look forward to working with Chad and the other members of the delegation here. I really feel good about our delegation because I think we're going to be cohesive and work with the local governments to get things done. So I don't know if you have any questions for me.
Your Honor.
Councilman West.
Representative, first off, congratulations on the joint appropriations. I think that's big for Sweetwater County. We've heard rumor in regards to the direct distribution that it could be 10%, and we heard maybe 5%. If I heard you right, now we possibly are looking at 15%. Is that what you stated?
For the direct distribution, it's been stuck at $105 million statewide to support cities, counties, and towns for the last several years.
Mm-hmm.
And that the governor's proposal is to cut it by exactly 10% by $10.5 million. That is a proposal that the governor doesn't have the power to just do that on his own, fortunately. And so it's my goal that that impact be mitigated because I think the number of 105 million across the entire state has been, frankly, a little difficult for the cities, counties, and towns to deal with. If I had to guess, I'm just one guy there, but if I had to guess, I don't think it will be cut by 10%. I think it will be cut by less than 10% when all the dust settles, if I just had to guess. Because there's an expectation that the Consensus Revenue Estimating Group report that will be coming out in January, because of the expected higher volume for coal and the expected higher price for natural gas, will be slightly brighter. And it's my understanding that supporting local governments will be a priority for the legislative leadership. That's my take on it. So that's not a promise. I think the larger fix would be to restore some funding streams, frankly, to local governments. That's where so that you're not always having your hand out to the legislature.
Right.
Right.
Appreciate it.
Representative Stitt, that being said, have you heard any discussion on bringing back the sales tax on food that was lost?
Well, and I'll go out on a limb here and say that I personally favor removing that loophole. I'm not as optimistic that one will get passed because I don't know of anyone who's bringing a specific bill to do that. And frankly, it seems like there are very few legislators who want to stand up and, repeal the sales tax exemption on groceries. I think we've been really lucky for the past 16 years or so. We've had kind of a tax holiday on groceries, but that things are going to be so tight and so difficult in the future that I think we're going to have to seriously consider that because that would help not only the state revenues, but more importantly, would help cities.
Councilors, any other questions?
Yes.
Patolo?
Any new revenue streams that you can talk about?
I think that's going to be, and Chad may have his view on the temperature there as well, but the composition of the House is probably slightly more favorable to new revenue sources, whereas in the Senate, a lot of hard no's, a lot of people who campaigned on no new taxes, right? And so if you campaign on no new taxes, it's really hard to arrive on your first day and reverse that. So I think we're going to have to chip away at this slowly. I believe there will likely be at least one bill that proposes a half-cent sales tax increase statewide as part of a larger education funding bill. Will that pass? I'm just not optimistic. I just don't think that's going to pass. Maybe it will. I don't know. There's going to be a lot of strident debate about that, I think. So if I had to guess, well, I don't know. I shouldn't guess about that. But so the half-cent sales tax increase statewide is one of the proposals that's being made more concrete that I expect to see in one or more bills in the session. If I were betting, I wouldn't bet that that's going to pass this time.
Well, just today, the city of Rock Springs received sales tax that was the lowest since 2007. So we're going to have to get creative, and I'm not quite sure what the mindset is at the legislature about no new taxes, but you can't have it both ways. You can't continue to cut and cut and cut until services are gone and programs are gone and the like without considering some sort of revenue source. Just my thoughts.
I think that's exactly right, and and really, Senator Cale Case talks about as a model South Dakota because they're somewhat similar demographically to us, but they don't have a mining sector, and so the way they do it is their sales tax rate is not all that much different than ours, but they just tax absolutely everything there. Okay, so lawyers and accountants may have to get used to looking at a sales tax someday. I don't think it's going to happen this session, but the idea is if you could broaden the sales tax base out, that would spread the pain. That's sort of, from a policy point of view, it's easy to say that. Getting it actually done could be challenging. So anyway, not great news. Sorry, I don't mean to be Debbie Downer here, but I think we're going to find a way to.
Councilman Savage?
Thank you. I got it. How's the session going to work this year?
Yeah, Your Honor, Councilman Savage, that's a great question.
I thought you knew. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
If it sounds like there may be this mishmash of we have one day of virtual session next Tuesday, then we all go home. Actually, we don't even leave our homes. And then maybe in early February, you do another couple of weeks of again, virtual session, but to handle the big bills that are must-pass things. So, for example, a supplemental budget really needs to get done before April, I think. Because if you don't, then school districts who have to enter into contracts with teachers, they don't know what to count on, right? And if there's going to be some haircut that school districts take, they need to know about it before April. And then an in-person session to finish it out maybe in late April or May.
Oh.
But that's been kind of but it's hard to plan just because there's been no, I'm not on the management council or in leadership itself, so that's above my pay grade. But if I had to guess, I think it's going to be something like that.
Okay. Well, that's encouraging news about the home health, the $3 million. That could quickly turn into $30 million in nursing home care, and then just the loss of the economy also. So I'm encouraged by that. I hope you're right.
Thank you, so. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative. We appreciate your time in coming down and giving us an update. We are under petitions. If there's anyone here tonight wishing to address the council on any issue, this is your time to do so.
You say this is the time to speak, sir?
Yeah. If you just state your name for the record, make sure your microphone's on.
My name's Justin Hilton. I'm a resident of Rock Springs, and I'm coming here to you as a concerned father, and I'm worried about the kind of America I'm going to leave for my kids. I'm a patriotic American, concerned citizen, and an intellectual. And with that being said, I would like for us to say the quiet parts out loud, because the times we're in require us to deal with serious matters. From the sounds of it, you guys are talking about it with the new revenue streams. But we're living in a time where government overreach has clawed its way into our state, and it's veined out into our smaller communities. Now, in Wyoming, we live in a certain type of bubble, and Rock Springs is almost a bubble within that, and that is not to be condescending. But normally the world happens around us and not to us, and that is no longer the case, as these times are happening to us, as everybody in this room has figured out at one point in time in 2020. But speaking of the past, or speaking of the times I should say, we lived in a time not too long ago where everything was good and abundant, and we had a different mindset where we didn't need to pay attention to let's just say the things that are going on in this room. And now that we are going into more uncertain times, it is time that we have a new mindset, and for men and women to step up and have stronger leadership amongst the people. And those people that are going to be leading our future, they're going to have to speak up against issues that come down from the state, and to question them, to at least question them. I mean, you don't have to answer any of this, but I mean, just to yourself, I guess. If I had to ask any of you, have any of you publicly, questioned the things that are going on? If just, you don't have to answer me right here, just laying that out there. And, I do want to acknowledge some leaders that have spoken out in favor of the people. So I am not just laying out a negative rhetorical. So by that, I'd like to acknowledge Sheriff Grossnickel, and I quote, "Personally, I believe wearing a mask as an individual choice, and that mandating masks without the consent of the voters is contradictory to the Declaration of Rights in the Wyoming Constitution. I stand by that conviction, and I will not apologize for it," end quote. And to quote Sweetwater County Prosecuting Attorney Dan Aramosby, "I strongly urge that all exercise respect for the rights of the business owner requiring face coverings to be worn in their business, respect for the fellow American who feels face coverings are an infringement of individual rights, and respect for those who feel they need to be mandated for the greater good in Wyoming. We are proud of our independent nature and the strong adherence to individual rights and accountability, a trait lacking in other parts of the country. This sentiment includes right for others to operate their business as they see it or have an opinion in how we choose to lawfully conduct ourselves. Hopefully this COVID-19 problem will be over soon. What will surely last is how we treat our fellow citizens." And that's pretty much all that I had. That was it.
Justin, I think those are great comments, and that being said, have you spoke to anybody at the state level about your concerns?
No, I think it starts at the local level, and this is, I feel like, what I was called to do in some fashion. I mean, the last time I was here, I walked in and I was worried because I didn't see anybody sitting in these seats, and those are the people that run the government at the local level. We're the people that tell you guys our input, and that bothered me, so I just felt like the need to step up. I mean, I'm not much of a speaker or a politician. I just know that it's time for a lot of Americans to get off the couch and start being proactive. So instead of being a keyboard warrior and just spouting out my dislikes for whatever I have, it's best that I just put my money where my mouth is and come speak it.
Your Honor, if I could say a few things.
Councilman Zadi?
I applaud you for that and not being the keyboard warrior and just spouting off and then hiding behind the screen. You're coming out here actually making a statement and telling us how you feel. And I can tell you, I feel pretty much, I'm probably in line with a lot of what you're saying there. I think we've seen a lot of things that I would consider overreach. One thing I would recommend, and I have heard as far as rumor, as potential discussion in the Senate or in House, maybe Representative Clark or Banks could comment on this, but there may be talk about mandates and changes and not allowing unelected bureaucrats to dictate what happens. I don't know details, but that's something, as anybody in the community and the public, you have a right and you have the need and you have the ability to keep track of what's going on and contact your state representatives. That's where a lot of this is coming from, and we need the voices to let people know we've had enough. I'm tired of being unable to go get something to eat at a restaurant at 10 o'clock for no reason when they can go to a truck stop and do it, or, you know, if complaints of people not able to live their lives and earn a living because of a certain time of night. To me, I think it's just bizarre what we've done and what we've followed as a nation in kind of obeying a lot of this stuff. But we need more voices to speak up and voice those concerns. And I would recommend that that's where you go. You go to your state representatives. That's where this is coming from. As you see stuff coming up in front of the legislature, call them, email them, let them know where you stand, and encourage others to do the same.
I think that's coming around. I think a lot more people are doing that, but I agree.
Well, and Justin, I'd have to say that a lot of the problem lies with the confusion and the inconsistency of just what Councilman Zadi stated, how one bar or restaurant has to close at 10 o'clock, but a truck stop or, you know, a Walmart can stay open. It makes no sense. And here we are left at the local level to try to make sense of mandates and orders put in place at the state level and try to do it in a common sense fashion that our number one goal is to keep our businesses open. As you probably heard earlier, our largest portion of revenue comes from sales tax, so it makes no sense for us to see our businesses close. We do whatever we possibly can to make those services available to the public, so people are out, businesses are successful, they're prospering, sales tax is generated, and that's what pays you know, local government. So like I said, I think it's just confusing in the fact that when orders come out that they're just not consistent. They seem to single out certain groups for no reason. Other groups are left wide open. It's confusing at best, and it's left on our table to make sense of. But I totally understand what you're saying.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Justin. Appreciate it. Still under petitions, is there anyone else here tonight wishing to address the council on any issue? This is your time to do so.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I am so nervous. I'm not a public speaker, so I'm not gonna stand up here and pretend that I am confident. My name is Annie Cunningham. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak tonight. I am a born and raised lifelong resident of Rock Springs, Wyoming. I'm a small business owner, and I have served the disabled population here in Rock Springs for 15 years. I am here today representing myself, of course, but also an alliance of over 1,000 individuals local to Sweetwater County, 90% of who are residing in Rock Springs and Green River. Let me make it clear, we're not an anti-mask group, but rather a pro-freedom alliance. We have no objection to people who have concerns and want to wear masks because of those concerns or because they're being forced to by their jobs. We just simply believe in the freedom of choice of healthcare. Recently, on December 22nd, Maria Chrysler held a Zoom workshop. It was a conversation regarding dangers, risks, and false safety of wearing masks. Their research was presented by experts in their fields, including PPE and special needs child expert, a clinical scientist, a naturopathic MD oncologist, an epidemiologist and nuclear medical technologist, and a dentist. That research included long-term mask use causes of bacterial pneumonia, increase in cavities and other dental health issues, streptococcus, psychological damage, and permanent neurological damage to kids, and low oxygen levels. Recently, I shared a video to my Facebook that was made by another resident here in Rock Springs, Brian Hawks. He's using a Ventus MX4 industrial scientific oxygen meter to test his daughter's oxygen levels on 2 different types of masks. One being that goes over your nose and down to your neck, and the other, the usual ear-to-ear one. OSHA defines normal atmosphere or normal oxygen atmospheres at 20.8% to 21%. And OSHA defines atmospheric deficient of oxygen at less than 19.5%. When he held this meter up to his daughter, one mask, her oxygen dropped down to 16.9%, and the other, it went as low as 18.2%. This is very concerning to me as I have a child who attends public school and how it is affecting his developmental growth, not getting sufficient amount of oxygen. I already struggle parenting him as it is, so I mean, this barrier can be very frustrating. Let's see. Sorry. Excuse me. Mr. Como, you were attending that meeting, and so you were presented with that research. And now that you are aware of the harmful effects to people's health, we as our alliance are requesting that you guys reconsider your decision to enforce these mask mandates. Sorry, I lost all of my stuff. So we're not denying that, you know, this virus isn't real, that people aren't getting sick, that they're not dying. It is undoubtedly being exaggerated to extreme proportions. We've never done this before in my lifetime, and if masks were really the answer all along, why weren't we being enforced decades ago? With me, I also have a copy of Evanston Mayor's Kent Williams' letter to Governor Gordon that I'd like to share briefly, his concluding statement of that letter in regards to his decision not to enforce the governor mandates in the town of Evanston. I applaud your continued efforts to encourage, instruct, educate, plead, request, and even beg for the use of masks, social distancing, hand washing, and other efforts in an attempt to curb the spread of this virus. But I cannot support a mandate of any kind that removes from our citizenry the ability, even the right, to interact, to conduct commerce, to gather as family and friends, to reason with one another, to attempt to govern activities that affect one's ability to provide for a family, flies in the face of personal freedoms afforded to us by our Creator and protected by the constitutions, not only of this nation, but this great state as well. In my humble opinion, mandates regarding masks, business operations, gatherings of family, friends and neighbors, etc., does little to curb virus spread, but greatly adds to the confusion, the anxiety and fear felt by so many across our population. It places our local government officials in a precarious situation with our constituents looking for relief and the ability to pursue their respective interests. It pulls our law enforcement people away from enforcing the laws and puts them in situations that are questionable at best from an enforcement perspective. All these issues run the risk of putting neighbor against neighbor, friend against friend, business against business, and so on. On a side note, our current local mandate was instituted in the dark of night, as it were, without any input from local officials, elected or otherwise. That was the December 8th business curfew mandate that he was referring to. This I find very troubling. Just because one can do something does not necessarily mean one should do something. Perhaps an alternative would be to empower people to be more aware of their surroundings, where personal health issues exist, encourage awareness, and promote greater understanding for personal protection and interaction with like-minded individuals and businesses, etc. The use of a mask should be a personal one. The requirement to wear a mask should be left to a business or venue owner to proprietor. Now, I don't claim to have all the answers, and I certainly do not envy those whose charge it is to look out for the public of our communities. But I do know that I have a responsibility to look after community health as a whole. I'm gravely concerned for the welfare of our city and the businesses that provide the commerce that create the resources by which we as a city provide services. As I visit with concerned business people across our city and hear of their struggles, sadly, I can offer little by way of light at tunnel's end. Now, I'm not looking for words to give them relief concerns or provide some empty glimpse of hope. There is no magic wand that can be waved here. However, I do believe that the best way for government to aid in our local recovery is to simply get out of the way and let commerce work. Certainly, there are and will be health concerns. Certainly, there is need for much of an education and encouragement to protect oneself and family. In essence, I am suggesting we teach correct principles as it relates to the virus and awareness for health concerns using all available resources, human, material, or otherwise, and we let the public govern themselves. As a follower of Christ and a woman of strong faith, you are all in my prayers. I do not question the stresses felt by all those in charge of public health issues and the seemingly unsurmountable odds before you. And I do not envy the pressure that you all are under from both sides of this mask fiasco. The Alliance and I would simply like to see the mask be a personal choice, as are all healthcare decisions, from the doctor you go to the meds you choose to take and or the flu vaccine that is optional. Like Mayor Kent Williams said, let the public govern themselves. And that is all I have.
Annie, I appreciate your comments, and you're exactly right. I don't think there's a right or wrong decision that can be made that one side or the other is not going to be upset with. You make good points, and I can tell you that for every time I hear someone that has the same concerns, and I agree with some of your concerns, I have 10 others that appreciate the fact that if they call for help with somebody coming into their business where they require a mask, that someone's going to show up there. But you're exactly right, and I think it should be a personal decision. If you go into a private property and a business has a sign that says you're required to have a mask, that's their right to have that sign, and it's your right not to go in.
Correct.
And so I can assure you that the city of Rock Springs is not driving around the police department looking for people to arrest that do not wear a mask. That is not happening. I've been asked that before. Most likely, if a private property or a business calls and says someone's in the store, they don't have a mask on and they won't leave and they won't put on a mask, then they call the police department. The police may show up and try to offer some educational information, and if not, then escort them to the door, and they could be cited for a trespass violation. But you're exactly right. I think it should be a personal choice, and by all means, if you don't want to wear a mask, I don't think you should have to wear a mask. Keep in mind that the mask mandate that you're asking for myself or this council to recall is not a city mandate, it's a state mandate again. And we're left to try to make sense of the enforcement side of it, which common sense, in my opinion, has prevailed in trying to make sure that we don't go out and search for people that aren't wearing masks. If you don't want to wear a mask, I think you shouldn't have to wear a mask. That's your opinion, that's your right, that's your thoughts, but you also don't have a right if someone's sick to infect somebody else, and that's the other side of the coin. I did sit into that, I think a couple of us did, into Maria's meeting, and we actually had that meeting scheduled with both sides, so we could talk both sides, the pros and the cons, and come up with some good ideas. And then at the last minute, Maria decided to back out and had her own meeting, but we attended that meeting. She provided some good information. I downloaded all that information, and at the same time, the other side, BYU, Stanford, a lot of good information on why they make sense. So there is no good decision. It's not the best time to be an elected official, but by all means, it is our job to try to answer these questions, work with everybody, and make good decisions in the best of our community. You make great points. I don't disagree with what you're saying. However, if businesses do have that sign or that right that says you have to wear a mask, then I just tell everybody the same thing. Then don't go in there. But
Right.
if it's private property, that's their right.
Oh, yeah.
Just like smoking or whatever it may be. But you make good points. I appreciate that.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Councilors, any other questions for Annie? Annie, thanks for your time. I appreciate your comments. Petitions are still open. If there's anyone else that wishes to address the council on any issue, this is your time to do so. Please feel free.
I have one more.
Go ahead, Justin.
So, getting back to, it was important that she was talking about the masks. Now, in New York City, I believe there's a bill coming out. It's 416, and it's very controversial because they're talking about putting people who are infecting people in as people that are health risks. They are talking about putting them in, like, I don't want to say cages, but it's pretty simple to say that. But this is what's going on in America, okay? And that's what I was getting back to about our leaders needing to use different tactics and to think differently, because it might come to a point to where they're going to have to be protecting our community, and people in the community don't want to be running around like rats thinking somebody's going to be, hemming them up because they think they're going to get infected and they're a health risk. The old scare tactic that, pardon my French, but most politicians, uses a carrot and a stick and keep the fear mongering going. People are going to have to deal with that here, and it's going to be our law enforcement that comes and has to, implement these things. But it hasn't gone to their legislation yet, but it is something that is being discussed on our own soil, basically like a concentration camp, but not quite to that extreme at the moment.
Well, Justin, I can tell you, it took us a year to get rid of a damn gas chamber to kill cats and dogs. I don't think on my watch we're going to be in that situation, but I'd be interested to see what this Bill 416 says in New York City. But I think sometimes our government instills this fear into us that makes us feel that we have no control. But that's not the case. The Constitution was put in place to make sure that everybody had a say and had a right, and government works for the people. And I think some of the stuff that you watch on social media and the news will scare you to death. But I can tell you that that is not the goal of the city of Rock Springs. Annie makes some good points, and I think all in all, if somebody feels that they they don't want to wear a mask, they shouldn't have to wear a mask where it's not required in a private property or a building, but just not to frequent those facilities. That being said, this is America, and we do have rights.
Yeah.
And everybody has rights, whether you're for or against. And like I said before, these are not easy answers to satisfy both sides, but the conversation needs to be had, and it's going to be our job to make sense of it and make good decisions as we move forward. I think it's confusing, as we stated before, on the mandate on different businesses. When you were up here before, different businesses being required to shut down or not consume, and others could. To us, that made no sense at all. It didn't satisfy the problem. In my opinion, the biggest issue was, the number one issue we have is that we don't want to inundate our healthcare facilities. That's the number one issue that we have. We only have one hospital, two if you count Green River, but we don't have many beds if needed. So the biggest thing was that we knew everybody was going to be infected, but to slow it down so we didn't inundate our emergency response people in our healthcare. And so that meant group gatherings and the like, try to control that. So when you start saying that bars and restaurants can close down or can have to quit serving at 10 o'clock, but they don't have to close down, what sense does that make? It makes no sense. The people are still there. They're gathering. They maybe had been drinking already or eating. It made no sense. So the mandates themselves, the language, made no sense. And here we are trying to make sense of it. But I can tell you, I am confident that our police department, our police chief, and our officers have made good decisions in trying to make sure that we understand exactly what you're talking about, and we treat people with respect. And we understand that everyone has a right, and our job is to try to help educate and keep people safe, and at the same time, make sure that we don't have another shutdown of our businesses.
Right. I just think it's important that we protect our community. That mindset and the thought process is different than where it was from 2 years ago, because we are in uncertain times right now. And I'm not acting like I have so much power, but I feel like it's important to bring this message, because not everybody's speaking on it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We have some issues. There's things that can come up where, people, we all might have to protect our community at one point. We don't know what's going on right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's just the kind of thinking that I'm bringing to the table. And
well, I think you're absolutely right in our First and Second Amendments. I mean, the reason why our government allowed the right to bear arms was not to protect against your neighbor. It was to protect against the government. That's in case your government got crazy enough that you could take care of it. And who knows, with what you see on the national level, that could come to fruition at any time. But it'd be interesting to see what this Bill 416 says.
It really caught me off guard, and
that's
that's why I wanted
alarming.
to bring it up.
Your Honor, I
Councilman
just
Johnny?
quickly looked it up and read it. It is kind of scary. I mean, it's if you are a danger or potentially a danger to the public, you could be put into a medical facility or other facility qualifying.
Yes.
The thing is, with this one, though, that has been introduced in the 2015-16 session, the 17-18 session, and 19-20 session, so every year it's been introduced to committee and it looks like it fails. Good. But the problem is it keeps getting introduced.
Yeah.
And eventually, you start chipping away and it's going to go probably.
It just takes a mindset.
This is probably perfect timing for him to do this, but I just wanted to point out it is in committee now. That's where it is. But it's been introduced before, and that you see that with other bills and different things that happen with others. But always, and I can't say this enough to anybody in the general public, keep an eye out. Don't just rely on your leaders that they're doing the right thing. It's our job as citizens of the United States to be diligent and hold our own and make sure that they're representing us the way we want them to represent us. Don't just blindly follow. Find out what's going on. Be a participant. Voice your concerns at every level of government. And so it's something, if we've learned anything the last year, I think that's one big lesson everybody should have learned.
Yes.
Pay attention and watch what's being done. So thank you for your comments.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Justin. Still under petitions. Anyone else? Hearing none, I'm going to close the petition section of our agenda. We're going to move on to the council committee and board reports. We have number one, the Joint Powers Telecom Board meeting minutes of November 19th, 2020. And we have the Joint Powers Combined Communication meeting minutes of November 23rd, 2020. Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman West?
move to approve the council committee and board reports and place on file.
We do have a motion to approve the council committee and board reports and place on file. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, this is going to move us to the correspondence. Councilors have had time to look at your three items of correspondence. And if there are no questions, I would entertain a motion to approve the correspondence and place on file.
So moved, Your Honor.
We do have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's going to bring us to the bills and claims. Item number one, the bills and claims for January 5th, 2021.
Your Honor,
Councilwoman Demas.
I make a motion to approve the bills and claims for January 5th, 2021.
We do have a motion to approve the bills and claims for January 5th, 2021. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstained.
Let the record show. Item number two, the salaries for December 22nd, 2020. Council, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilwoman Demas.
I make a motion to approve the salaries for December 22nd, 2020.
We do have a motion to approve the salaries for December 22nd, 2020. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's going to bring us to our new business items, councilors, of which we have four. Item number one is the request from the Health Insurance Committee to extend the temporary telemedicine benefit for the city's health insurance plan to March 31st, 2021. Councilman, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman West.
move to approve this request.
We do have a motion to honor this request. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number two, the request from the Engineering Operations and Public Services Department for permission to fill a vacant streets maintenance worker one position at the Streets Division. Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman Batolo?
I make a motion that we approve this request.
We do have a motion to approve this request. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No.
Let the record show. Item number three, the request from the Engineering Operations and Public Services Department for permission to bid the 2021 concrete replacement Phase 2 and the 2021 overlay project, as well as the uniform and fuel contracts. Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor, I'd move to approve that request.
We do have a motion to approve this request. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number four, the request from the Police Department for permission to apply for the 2021 Highway Safety Behavioral Program Grant. Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilwoman Demas?
I make a motion to approve this request.
We do have a motion to approve this request. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's going to bring us on to the resolution section of our agenda, councilors. Item number one, Resolution 2021-01.
A resolution accepting and approving improvements installed in the Garnet Edition of the City of Rock Springs, Sweetwater County, Wyoming, and accepting control and maintenance of the same pursuant to the provisions of Rock Springs Ordinance Section 16807.
Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilwoman Demas.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-01.
We do have a motion to approve Resolution 2021-01. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. Roll call.
Councilor Zadi,
Abstain.
Halter,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Demas,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. Item number 2, Resolution 2021-02.
A resolution granting an electrical utility easement to Rocky Mountain Power, an unincorporated division of Pacific Corp., for the purpose of constructing and maintaining an electrical service line to supply electrical power to the west hangar at the Southwest Wyoming Regional Airport, and authorizing Timothy A. Como as mayor of the city of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk of the city of Rock Springs, Wyoming, to execute said easement on behalf of said city.
Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman Patolo?
I make a motion that we approve 2021-2.
We do have a motion to approve Resolution 2021-02. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. Roll call.
Counselor Halter,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. Item number 3, Resolution 2021-03.
A resolution accepting a quitclaim deed from the Thomas J. Krishishnik Bypass Trust, the Eileen Krishishnik Trust dated December 14th, 1999, and Mary J. Krishishnik, a single person, and authorizing Timothy A. Como as mayor of the city of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk of the city of Rock Springs, Wyoming, to accept said quitclaim deed on behalf of said city.
Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman West?
move to approve Resolution 2021-03.
We do have a motion to approve Resolution 2021-03. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. Roll call.
Counselor Batolo,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. Item number 4, Resolution 2021-04.
A resolution amending and reenacting Resolution 8825, which declares the intention of the City Council of the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, to establish water rates in said city.
Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman West?
move to approve Resolution 2021-04.
We do have a motion to approve Resolution 2021-04. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. Roll call.
Counselor West,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes, and I would like to commend the Water and Sewer Committee, Matt, your office, and Jasmine and Water for making sense of this and getting us to move forward here. Item number 5, Resolution 2021-05.
A resolution authorizing and directing Timothy A. Como as mayor of the city of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk of the city of Rock Springs, Wyoming, to accept and approve a budget revision to the budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021.
Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilwoman Demus.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-05.
We do have a motion to approve Resolution 2021-05. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. Roll call.
Counselor Hickerson,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. Item number 6, Resolution 2021-06.
A resolution accepting and adopting a benefit plan document with further for city employees and authorizing Timothy A. Como as mayor of the city of Rock Springs and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk of the city of Rock Springs to adopt said plan on behalf of the city of Rock Springs.
Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman West?
move to approve Resolution 2021-06.
We do have a motion to approve Resolution 2021-06. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's called. Roll call.
Counselor Savage,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. Item number 7, Resolution 2021-07.
A resolution accepting and adopting a benefit plan, HRA retirement plan document with further for city for city employees and authorizing Timothy A. Como as mayor of the city of Rock Springs and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk of the city of Rock Springs to adopt said plan on behalf of the city of Rock Springs.
Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilwoman Demus?
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-07.
We do have a motion to approve Resolution 2021-07. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. Roll call.
Counselor Robinson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. Item number 8, Resolution 2021-08.
A resolution accepting and approving a hosting service agreement with Harris Systems USA, Inc. and the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and authorizing Timothy A. Como as mayor of the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk of said city to execute said agreement on behalf of said city.
Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman Halter?
move to approve 2021-08.
We have a motion to approve Resolution 2021-08. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. Roll call.
Counselor Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. And item number 9, Resolution 2021-09.
A resolution fully rescinding the city's emergency COVID-19 sick leave and absentee policy for city employees.
Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor.
Councilman Savage, was it?
Yep. I move to approve Resolution 2021-09.
We do have a motion to approve Resolution 2021-09. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. Roll call on the resolution.
Counselor Zadi,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. It's going to bring us to
Your
our-
Honor.
Yes.
Can I interrupt for a second? Sorry. I missed when you asked us for council and board report, so I was just hoping I could jump in real quick.
You missed it.
Councilor Savage,
I think that's going to take a motion, Mayor.
we'd be happy to let you jump in.
Thank you. As you know, Your Honor, there's been a little bit of healthy animosity between the police department and the fire department. If anyone can remember 2019, the fire department had a very successful calendar, and they got a lot of good publicity from that. And the police were a little bit jealous, I guess I could say. But now, as I don't know if all of you have seen this, but now the police department has a magazine cover model from the police department. I like to think of it as I don't know if you guys can see this. It's a thorn between two roses, but still, he's on the cover. And it's a wonderful, in all seriousness, it's a wonderful article. And I hope this magazine makes it. It's called High Desert Living, and it's here in Rock Springs. It is my hope this magazine leans itself towards entertainment and encouragement by bringing to your living room good stories on locals in the community. And we sure need some good stories right now. Some of the stuff that's being said is just crazy, but anyway, it's a wonderful article on Chief Pacheco and his family, and I encourage everybody to read it. And I don't even know if Dwayne got a copy, but I want you to have mine.
I did get a copy and read that article. It was very well put together and fantastic article. I'm just glad that it was done before Chief Pacheco received his COVID vaccine, because his looks have changed significantly since. But no, all joking
That's
aside,
just kidding. His looks.
it was a very good article, and we sure appreciate our chief and his family. Thank you, Councilor Savage. We have ordinances, one ordinance on second reading, ordinance 2020-10.
An ordinance amending Article 4.4 of the ordinances of the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, entitled Cemetery, whereas the governing body of the City of Rock Springs desires to amend Article 4.4 of the ordinances of the City of Rock Springs entitled Cemetery to allow City of Rock Springs to buy back cemetery lots previously sold.
Councilors, with no further business to come before the city council, this meeting is adjourned.